Hi, welcome to the Bill Selak Talks podcast. My name is Bill Selak. This is me talking. I have the coolest lesson plan around AI image generation that I could not wait to get home and record it in a quiet environment. I'm driving home on a Friday evening, late Friday work, and I got to share it with you now while it is fresh in my head. I'm going to back up and get a little bit of context for you for how I got to here, and I'm going to jump in pretty quickly and share the lessons we did. So, the ISTE conference in 2023 has a museum, a gallery, exhibition, if you will. Will you? Yes, you will. Great. So, I was feeling particularly heavy feelings and emotions around the school shooting in Nashville and wanted a way to kind of process those emotions. But I wasn't going to do it through music. I'm like, I don't want to just noodle on my guitar. That didn't feel right. It felt like visual arts, but I don't know, taking photos, visual arts for me is photography and video. That didn't feel right either. So I ended up using Midjourney, an AI bot that does text to image generation, typing stuff into there, and just was underwhelmed with what I was getting. So I switched to ChatGPT. I did some AI bot stacking and asked ChatGPT for a prompt to help me write a prompt, pasted that prompt into Midjourney, and got some really cool images, landed on one, submitted it for the ISTE Conference Museum, and was accepted. And then last week, I hopped on a Zoom call with them, and they asked if I could get a couple more, do kind of a triptych, maybe working with some students or some teachers at our school, and do a collaborative piece of art using AI. And I was like, yes, the answer is yes. So was talking with Clara, our design teacher, and she graciously invited me into 2 5th grade classes to create a piece of art. And her suggestion was just pick kind of a current event or a current topic. Maybe not talk about, don't do 3 images around school shootings. And so I was like, all right, let's give that a go. And so the first group had a variety of things I wanted to tackle. We ended up getting an image about racism in America. And so I hopped into ChatGPT, explained to the chat bot that we wanted to create an image in Midjourney. I don't think we used Midjourney in particular. That would have been interesting to see if the prompt would have changed. To do a text-to-image AI bot, we wanted help with the prompt. Got the prompt, pasted it into Midjourney, and since I've used it last, so since the last time you've heard me on the podcast, I figured out that you can start up your own Discord server, which is where Midjourney lives, invite the bot to that server, and so I have an EduAwesome Discord server, so if you want to be invited, shoot me a message, I'll gladly add you to that. Added it when Twitter was kind of the dumpster fire, the initial dumpster fire that it continues to be, and people are like, shoot, what do we do? Are we all leaving Twitter? And I was like, I don't know, Discord might be cool, hop on. So there's maybe 20 of us on this Discord server right now. Added Midjourney to it. And the big advantage you get with this is that on the Midjourney server, thousands of people are on it at once, and you have to use one of their public channels. So you're typing in your prompt, and 2 things happen. Dozens of people are typing in their prompts at the same time, which makes it hard to keep track of your prompt and your results, and also is hyper distracting because you're seeing everybody else's prompts and everybody else's images. So by adding it to my own Discord server, I was able to have just me, just our class. Also by doing it whole group, I was honoring the terms of service because I am over 18, 5th graders are not. And so I was driving. This would be great to do in small groups, but in terms of service wise, made sure that we're doing a whole group, and I was the one with hands on the keyboard. So we have our own Discord server, paste that prompt in, and what I was astounded by with this group that talked about kind of racism in America and looking at the images is the level of critique around creativity and around art. It was unbelievable. The conversations we were having were like, I think this image represents this part better. So if you don't know it, let me take just a step back one more time. When you type in the prompt, Midjourney gives you 4 variations on it. And then you get buttons underneath from going top left to bottom right. You have version 1, version 2, 3, and 4. If you click view 1, it'll give you 4 variations on that first one. So we're going through and just finding like version 4 fits really well. Let's click on that one. Click variations on 4, and that version we liked gives us 4 more. And we're like, all right, that's getting closer to what we want. The second one this time is closer to what we want. Let's get variations on the second one. Click V2, and we get 4 more versions. So you can kind of steer it in almost like a biological, like selective genome selection kind of thing, where you can almost like selectively breed like a breed of dog or something, like that. Like we want dogs that can swim really well. So whenever you find a dog that swims well, you breed those. It's that same sort of thing where you keep selecting for the visuals you want. And so we focused on racism in America in yesterday's group, and then today's group focused on climate change. And what I continue to be amazed with, the group today really was, it might be because I was, I'd already learned with yesterday's group, kind of how to frame it a little bit differently. But also I think the images we were getting were pretty significantly different. The first group, we were really like kind of struggling to get the image that we thought we wanted. And the second group, we landed pretty quickly on 2 images that were like, oh, like this is really close. So we got really close really quickly. And so like version 1 and version 4 were both really close. So we did variations on 1 for a while, variations on 4 for a while. And then kind of the last 3 rounds, when we're picking variations between the 4 choices, the conversations we were having were amazing. I really like 2 because this part of the picture symbolizes this. I really like version 4 because the colors are kind of green, kind of brown, kind of purple, kind of nighttime purple. And it represents like how things used to be around the climate, how things are now, and how things are going to be. And people are like, oh, I really like that. Okay, like version 4. And we keep going to that. And they're like, all right, like this kind of has like a farm in the background, and then kind of has some dead trees, and then it has like smokestacks from like a factory. And so someone's like, I really like the factory because it represents this. Or I really like the cloud here because it represents that. And I was like, whoa, like there's all kinds of symbolism that these 5th graders are pulling out that were like deeply creative conversations. And like, what's the word? Like they're almost like making a feeling like a hypothesis, right? Like arguing for this version because this part means this. There were like these deeply critical and like well thought out arguments, and not in an argumentative way, just in a like, here's why version 1 fits what we're trying to do best. So like deeply critically thinking, deeply creative, and like the media literacy on this was just like off the charts, really like trying to create something that communicates like a really heavy topic. And these students, it was really explicit on the onset, letting them know this is a really like heavy topic, that I'm asking them to be vulnerable in a space where I'm not their teacher every day. Like they see me around campus all the time, but I'm not doing like hour-long lessons every day with them. So we didn't have that relationship to kind of have like this heavier conversation. And even in 5th grade, they really leaned into it. They were absolutely capable of having like this conversation around creating a piece of art to help us all like process these really big emotions and these like really big problems with our planet. And so I think being able to take a thing like that, process your emotions, and creating something visual hits like all the boxes I think we're trying to do as teachers. I continue to be really amazed at how honestly and fully those students showed up, at how we were having these real conversations, and sometimes we got kind of stuck and we stalled out and we're like, version 4, and we wait 30 seconds, version 2, we wait 30 seconds, until we kind of get back to where we want to go, or, maybe let's start over, let's look at our prompt. But again and again, it was having these like really big conversations on like really passionate kind of conversations, like, do you know what I mean when I say argument? Like, nobody was arguing, but like stating your case for your version. Like really strong cases, really passionate cases. It was really amazing. And so what I'm left with is, I think I've been having the wrong conversation with people, so much of it. And I was just talking with a parent at an event that we had this Friday afternoon. I was talking about AI, and he was like, I don't want to do the art because AI can just do it for me quicker. And I find myself having that conversation a lot around other adults. It's like, is it art? Is it not art? Is it this? Is it that? What is or isn't it? And really what I learned is that it's more about like, what can you do with students? What conversations can you have? What can you create with them? It's not whether or not it's art. Like, the conversations we had were amazing conversations. Like, the lessons and the way they showed up is all that, like, I feel school should be. We should be doing more of this. And so if we're doing that during the school day, like, great. The conversation is not, is it art or not? Is it whatever? This is a really good use of time with students. Students are able to really advocate. I think that's the word, not argue, like advocate for, wow, that car pulled in front of me. That was a motorcycle. Now the motorcycle's gonna ruin our audio. Sorry, everybody. They were going 20, not 50, but we are all okay. But that's all right. That's what happens when you're not in your podcast studio. They were able to advocate, that's the stronger verb, to make their case. And it was a really good use of time with students. We ended up with something that I think they're really proud of. I certainly am really proud of what we created, those images. And I wonder how much of it is that I opened by saying, we are going to be putting these up in a museum at this conference with 20,000 educators. I wonder if that's part of how they bought in, which also just goes back to one of the bigger themes of this podcast over the last 10 years is finding that authentic audience. That certainly helped, right? It didn't hurt saying, we're going to create something, it's going to go in this exhibit in this museum at this conference. And it's going to be great, right? Like, there certainly was that authentic audience part of that. So I wonder if maybe you pitch to the students, if you're going to try this with them, that you would, you're going to distribute it on whatever, your social media, your school social media. You're going to print it out and be able to put it like in the front office, put it on like your digital signage around campus. There's lots of ways that you can very quickly get an audience for this, which I think really helps, particularly if you're doing it whole class. Like, doing this in small groups would be really cool. We just need to find ones where you get that really, like, be pretty subjective here, like that museum quality polish that Midjourney gives you, but with a platform that's okay to get kids that are under 13 on. Canva comes to mind, but the images I'm seeing with that, I'm not like, wow, I really wish that was in the museum. But there's stuff on Midjourney where I look at that and I'm just like, wow, that is seriously cool. One last final note. If you're looking at this and you're like, yes, I'm going in, and then you go to print it, printing in Midjourney, you don't get enough pixels. If you upscale it, you get about 1,000 pixels. There's a lot of ways to do this. The one I ended up going with is a website that's like AI upscaler. You get 6 free a month. And I actually upscaled it, downloaded it, upscaled it again, downloaded it. So it ends up having like 4 times or 16 times the amount of pixels. The final version I got, instead of being 1 megabyte, was actually 50 megabytes. And it changes it because it actually uses AI to guess at what pixels should be there. So if you took like a picture of your grandparents that was scanned at, 72 DPI, like it might end up being weird if you use this to upscale it, but for something that was already AI generated and didn't exist and is fairly abstract, this AI upscaler for print was really, really cool. So that's that last little bit I'm going to throw in there for you. But I got to tell you, I'm stoked that we spent some time making art and that we really had artistic conversations advocating for different points of view around visual literacy, around media literacy, around also just like processing big emotions around big things. Like on my own, I talked about, gun violence in schools. First class, we talked about racism in America and trying to come up with a visual representation of that to kind of help us process some emotions. And then looking at climate change and what that means for someone who's 11. There were some big topics, and we didn't have to get into the politics of it. We didn't have to really like talk about, I feel this way about climate change or I feel this way about racism. It was just like, here's some images that express a thing. Like, which of these resonate with you? Which one of these do you think communicates this like big feeling, which I think is really powerful, particularly for me who has never developed the skills to do graphic design in a way that I'm seeing or that I'm able to do now. And certainly, in 1 hour with the whole class to knock out like a piece of artwork that I think is museum quality is pretty amazing. It's really exciting times. If you are excited about AI in education, in the world, I would strongly encourage you to spend some time with some younger kids and make it together. I really think that's going to change your perspective in a really cool way. Like, not that I have so much wrong, but just that I think the conversation and the learning, it was in a different spot than where I thought it was going to be. It was awesome. I'm grateful to be at a school that allows me to do that, and grateful for students that are willing to lean into those big topics and create art together. It's kind of a beautiful thing. So thanks for listening. If you do post some of that art that you're doing with students or that you're doing on your own, please tag me. I would love to see what you're doing. That would be fantastic. So with that, thank you for listening to Bill Selak Talks. My name is Bill Selak. This has been me talking.